Right, today we're doing controlled burning. Here's Lee, here's Kevin, the Unimog.
Today we are burning from Morris cut line heading north. There's some sections we're jumping as we're sitting with a baby rhino that's got an injury. So we're avoiding that block not to burn today. The point of burning actually is for the grass growth to be better with the next rain season. So we have more feed for our animals. And it's important to do a control burn as for fires not to run away and cause damage to our neighboring farmers.
Today we are going to burn so that we can, the bugs will get the fresh.
Okay.
We're in good hands with working on fire teams. They all know what they're doing. So I must say, even with this wind gusting at 26 kilometers an hour, I'm still feeling very comfortable.
And what are the biggest challenges you face?
Our biggest challenge at this stage is if the fire jumps.
Okay.
So everybody, we've already done the debrief this morning. Everybody has their task, they know what to do. We've got vehicles with bucky suckies going in two directions from the starting point. Then we have another vehicle with a bucky sucky going backwards and forwards between the two continually to make sure that nothing jumps over onto the other side. The last thing we need is having to leave the area we're trying to burn to jump onto the other side and try and put out a fire that we don't want.
So do you make 2 fire breaks on each side?
What we do is we start burning it up against the wind. Okay, so that's a very slow burn, and that creates our fire break from the road going inwards. And so we'll start on the one side, burn up against the wind and then we sit and wait until that's burnt sufficient distance, and then we start going around and close in on the other side. But here, I mean, we're doing quite a big area. It's nearly 600 hectares, although not the full 600 hectares is going to burn. There's a lot of areas in between that won't burn, A, because of less fuel, and B, because we're going to skip them. We don't want them to burn. Particularly drainage lines we don't want to burn, because over the years, with all the invasive weeds and then all the hot burns that we've done, and the elephant, there's very little new growth of riparian vegetation. So we don't want to have fire.
What is riparian?
Riverine vegetation. So we want to try and increase that.
What is riverine?
Where the river goes.
So the vegetation that grows around the river.
Yes,
so like something soft.
Correct. So it's different type of vegetation. Most of those trees and plants are not fire resistant, like your acacia species are that grow in the grass veld areas.
Why do you burn into the wind?
Because it's easier to control to begin with and to create a fire break.
But surely the wind will just push it onto the other side, or is it
No,
not
this
possible?
is sufficient. So that's why we have the people here. They'll put the fire out on next to the road and let the fire burn inwards.
Okay. Is there anything I have to know from a safety perspective?
Stay close to me. It's called a kestrel. It's basically a little mobile weather station. It gives you wind speed, temperature, dew point, humidity, everything you need to know when you're burning to make sure that you understand the conditions and you can be prepared for every possibility.
What is the most ideal conditions?
Depending on the area that you're burning. So for example, if you need to burn a fairly hot fire, then obviously you would like some wind. Too much wind is obviously not ideal, because then you can you run the risk of fire jumping. But your fuel load is what's important. So it's your fuel biomass that's in the area that you want to burn. And you need to have a decent biomass of fuel in order to achieve the goal that you have. And your goal should basically be to reduce your woody plant component and also help with invasive weed control.
Okay.
So if you have a lot of fuel biomass and what they call moribund, which is dead plant material, that suppresses any new growth. So you want to get rid of that to stimulate new grass growth.
What is moribund?
Moribund is your old dead.
M-A-R-I.
Yeah, M-O-R-I.
Bun. B-U-N.
Yeah, bund. B-U-N-D.
Okay.
So yeah, so that is your old dead grass plant. No, they're just organising themselves.
How do you decide which sections to burn?
Okay, so we do a field load assessment.
Okay.
And that basically, so obviously it's different sections of the farm each year. But after we've done our fuel load assessments and we've seen where the fuel loads are high and we need to reduce those fuel loads, that's how
What
we
is a fuel load?
So it's the amount of biomass on the ground.
That is potentially like flammable and
Yeah, so
dangerous.
if you look here, okay, this is very low, but this is what constitutes your fuel load or your biomass. It's your burnable material.
And how do you do the calculation?
Okay, so there's two methods. The one is using a what they call a disc pasture meter. It's a contraption on a pole with a disc, and you drop it on top of the grass, and it's got little marks and numbers. It measures basically what the fuel biomass is, and you do it over a couple of places in a 100-meter transects.
Mm-hmm.
And then you calculate basically what the fuel load is.
Okay.
The other way, of course, is if you've done it as many times as I have, you basically just walk around and have a look,
Mm-hmm.
and I can more or less tell you almost to as close as damn it what your tons per hectare is.
Okay.
And we have here what we measured. It varies from about 4 tons per hectare, and we've got some areas that are as high as 6.5, 7 tons per hectare,
Okay.
which is high. So those areas will burn hot. Obviously smoking enough today.
So how does the burning stimulate the grass to grow?
Okay, so literally just by reducing the amount of dead material that's smothering it,
Okay.
it just invigorates it. And remember, this is a fire ecology. So over millions and millions and millions of years, what you see here has evolved because of fire. So
Because it would naturally burn.
it's a natural
If you
thing. It's
left
part,
that
it's
much
part of the
debris.
natural process.
Okay.
And we are simulating that. Obviously, it's not an entirely natural scenario because it's small. We've got a lot of roads, we've got infrastructure. For our reserve, we burn according to what our requirements are. And we look at what animals we have. So some areas we don't burn, we want to remain thick for the black rhino, for example, and our nyala. And other areas for the plains game, your impala and zebra, wildebeest and buffalo, they prefer open areas, and that's what we were trying to create. This is perfect for us as far as creating a fire break is concerned, and that's exactly what we want to do here.
So every team has their own vehicle with a bakkie saki.
Correct. Plus we've got an additional bakkie that goes backwards and forwards between the teams.
Stopped off at the workshop because we needed to get toilet paper for the peeps. Andre's showing us the new game drive seats, the Game Viewer seats. This is the workshop. How's it going? Are there other farms that do this burning but they don't bring a fire team out, they just do it by themselves? Are you legally allowed to do
By
that?
law, however, they must comply with the minimum requirements of having, depending on the size of the property, the number of people that they have that are trained to fight fire, and their equipment and PPE, bakkie-sakis, beaters and water sprayers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that do it on their own. But you know, we have such massive infrastructure here that for the small cost that we have of using them, it's really worthwhile.
Just block it.
Careful, it's a petrol diesel mix. Okay, so you're just going to